favorite place to be.
So how much square footage does our tiny home sailboat have? It's actually something I've thought about kind of a lot, and people do ask us a fair bit. How much square footage does a catamaran have, or does a sailboat have? And it's a little bit of a weird measurement, it feels like, because the boats are a lot less boxy than houses are, but we're gonna make an attempt to figure out how much square footage we have on this boat. Oh, so I looked it up. Square footage for a house counts as livable space. Year-round, I know, year-round livable space. So like, technically the cockpit doesn't count. Anywhere that's inside, has flooring, and is meant to be lived in, counts. So that's what we're gonna do, that's what we're gonna calculate, and we're gonna come up with a number.
All right, we need to measure the length and width of this room. $189.
So that was 189, but the tape measure was 3, so we'll call it 192 inches. We'll figure that out in feet later. Now we need to do, I'll figure out the corner cutouts, but we need to do front to back. Put this there. And we'll call it 137. Okay, now really the holes are the same. So if we just measure the one hole, it's got to be exactly the same as the other hole, right? Yeah. So we'll just measure the port hole maybe. All right, we're gonna do the starboard hull just because we have easier access to the walls. I looked it up. I wasn't sure if we'd include like closet space as square footage, but like if you're doing a kitchen, it's still wall to wall. All the cabinetry counts in the square footage. So this counts as part of the square footage. Now it's a little bit weird because the holes go out. So I'm just gonna kind of measure hip level width of walls. That way, if I measure the top, it'd be misleading. If I measure the bottom, it'd be misleading because it kind of curves out. So I'm just gonna do hip level, wall to wall, for these 3 rooms, and then we'll just double it for the to include that side, right? So it's messy. We're in the middle of like 6 projects. Wall to wall, 62. So the whole width is 62 in the middle, but it's pretty straight here. So then we'll do length. That one is, call it 92. So from here to here is 92, and this one is here to here. Okay, so then let's measure the bedroom. We're gonna do back wall to the bulkhead. We're at about there, 97. 97. And then we'll do the, it's pretty square too. I don't, like the drawing makes it look like it curves in more, but the curve doesn't really happen until the rudder room, so it's pretty square. So the room is a little bit wider on this end than it is over there. So instead of trying to get fancy with it, I'm just gonna measure in the middle. It is 81.
81.
I'm surprised that this one is wider than this one, but I guess that in reality, part of this, it's not straight. The salon kind of juts into the hallway a little bit, so that's why it's a little bit narrower.
This one was higher than hip level.
Okay, well I'll do it again.
Doing it again. Hip level. Ryan's hip level, not mine.
78.5. Let's just round it down to 78.
78.
But like if you look here, this space right here, the room is wider because it goes underneath, and then the hallway juts out because of the salon. So the room is wider because of how they designed it. This one's tricky because this closet's here, but remember the closets count in the square footage, so I'm gonna open the door and go to the back of the closet.
That's just our laundry.
From the window to the wall?
From the window to the wall.
68. Sign 68. This one is 114. 1.4. I did this measurement kind of over here, but if we're gonna do like the other room, we should do it in the middle of the space. It's 66. Take 2 inches off. 66. Now I am curious to do the porch, just because the garage kind of like covered porch. I know it doesn't really count, but I just kind of want to see what that, if you added that as living space, if you like fully closed it in or something. Cockpit is a mess. We got projects going on, but let's see, what should count? Should we count from the seat or from like the space behind the seat? Like the enclosed area if we enclosed it. I think that's what it would be. The enclosed area if we enclosed it.
It's Aria. For the people who are wondering where Aria is, she goes.
So let's call that 14 feet and 28 inches. And then if we can close it, it'd be pretty much from here to the window. So we'll do that. Call that 8 feet even. A part of this is like the helm station, but you know, you can hang out at the helm station. It turns into a seat in this cockpit if everything out here gets crowded. We do have spaces in the crash lockers that in some boats, they actually finish them and like make them nicer for captains and whatnot, or for crew. They put like a little head in there.
There was a cushion in there when we first bought the boat.
Yeah, but I don't want to count that for us as living space. We don't really use it as living space.
Yeah, but it's our garage, kind of.
Yeah, but it's not forward. You wouldn't live in there. Like.
But like garages are counted for square footage, right?
I don't know. Okay, so this one truly is a triangle. So I'm gonna actually measure it as a triangle. We're just gonna kind of guess with this one. If I'm gonna do this right, I should do it at the back wall. If we're gonna calculate a real triangle out of this. I'd say that one at hip level would be 44. So 44 at hip level. And then length right about here. We'll call it 8 feet.
That's long.
Yeah, you can fit a lot of stuff in here. But the trick is if you fit too much stuff in here, it makes the boat top heavy, front heavy.
Yeah, that's not good for catamaran.
8 feet. So we got 44 inches by 8 feet. And at the front, it's only, I've been in there, it's only like maybe 6 inches across. So 6 inches. So we're gonna do the math, but that's times 2 because we have 2 of these garages here. And then I'm not gonna really count the water, like the generator room and the water tanks. We can store stuff in there, but it's more boat. It's not like living space, it's like boat stuff, you know? This you could actually use storage. You can put your bikes or whatever you want in there, you know, like you do in a house. So it's time to do some math and see how much square footage we have. I'll also throw in, just for giggles, kind of to get a ratio of the inside versus the outside. We're 23 feet wide by 40 feet long. I'll do the math on what's our total outside area so we can kind of get outside floor space versus inside floor space. On a catamaran, there's a lot more outside space than there is inside space, but like proportionally speaking than there is in a monohull. We have the big trampolines, and that's just space. You know, there's no inside space. But on a monohull, it's all, wherever there's deck, there's actually inside space too. The afternoon storms have been pretty volatile. Last night, we were out getting dinner, and we came back, and the whole cockpit was in disarray, and we actually had a solar panel get torn out of our bimini. It's installed in our bimini with washers. We've been in like 38 knot winds and storms, and the solar panels have been solid. They're like no risk of them leaving. And whatever hit us last night when we weren't here tore the solar panel off, tore it out of its wiring, and then poof, it's gone. And that's pretty good. We also heard at the marina that somebody's mainsail, the wind was so bad when that first storm hit that somehow their mainsail escaped and just blew apart in the wind. So like, something nasty hit last night. And then the second cell came through and we were here, and a boat that was anchored out here drug real bad and real fast and almost hit another boat. We got a little bit of footage of that. Always interesting. I just wouldn't think that the worst storm that caused actual damage to the boat would be like in the ICW.
Yeah, in Charleston. What do you think, Aria? Aria had a bath the other day. Here is our missing solar panel. Almost $300. Gone. Very upsetting. Huh, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, these things are good, but I have been thinking of like better ways to secure them. Ultimately, we'll probably do a hardtop bimini on top of this thing, but we're not gonna do that right now. So I've thought of like using much bigger washers and maybe like actually boards on the bottom of this so they can't tear through the bimini. This material is really tough. It's just whatever hit last night must have been rough. So just to recap, we live on a Lagoon 410. That's a 40-foot long, 23-foot wide catamaran. And that number is easy. That's 920 square feet. So that's all the outside deck area. That's not living space. So I looked it up. The average tiny homes tend to range between 60 square feet, which just seems crazy to me, and about 400 square feet. Anything bigger than 1,000, it starts to be a house. So it's got to be less than 1,000 to be a tiny home, but typically tiny homes are like 400-ish. Where do we rank? We come in at 450 square feet for living space. that comes down to, if you don't like the lockers that we used, then it's 420 square feet. So 420 if you remove those crash lockers as like garage space, I guess. So 450 with the lockers, 420 without the lockers, still more than 400 about. And just for fun, the cockpit was 131 square feet. Again, that wouldn't really count, but that's kind of how big our outside area would be. So if you really enclose that well and consider that part of your living area, then you'd get a little bit more room out of it. So I guess it's less than I thought it was for some reason, 420 square feet, but it's more than 400, so we're soundly in the tiny home range.
Live in a very small space.
But it's got 2 bathrooms and 3 bedrooms.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know, a
We
kitchen.
fit everything in.
Yeah, the boats make really good use of space, and it's functional. It's a vehicle. We got engines and water, you know, all that stuff.
And that's it for this video.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Glad that question's answered once and for all.